Happy Halloween indeed, everyone. Hello and welcome to Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDO stream Halloween Eve edition. It is 4 o'clock Eastern here over in Massachusetts, which means there's a whole bunch of people who are taking the afternoon off early from work today because they got kids to get dressed up and maybe some food to put in their stomach other than candy, etc. And so, a lot of people already off work. This is an unofficial holiday, but I'm here. I'm here because I have some exciting news. I'm going to be dressing up, however, like someone who is streaming live shortly because I actually have a pre-recorded video that I did with Steelstar. We're looking at the raid loot over on Lamania this week, and I want to get that info to you. So we're going to be playing that in just a bit, and that's about 16 minutes, that interview. When we come back, I'll have some news, and if there's any time left over, we'll get started on Chill of Ravenloft, and one of my characters over on Thrain, who is just a mere level 10, going through a life, is a caster. I don't play casters much, but I'm doing it anyway. So happy Halloween, everyone. Welcome to Fridays at 4. Welcome to DDO Stream. The main thing I wanted to get to before the interview, however, is this. We today kicked off our Extra Life fundraising. So not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow, Saturday, November 8th, we're going to be doing a marathon right here on this Twitch channel, pretty much all morning, afternoon, and night. So lock it in, twitch.tv/DDO stream. Next Saturday, we're going to have giveaways in chat. We're raising money for Extra Life. Tons of DDO streaming all day long. If you've ever been here for a previous Extra Life, you'll know it's a really good time to hang out with your fellow DDO players. So hope to see you there. But that kicked off today, so donations are open for Extra Life. You can go to DDO.com and learn more about it. This is an annual fundraiser that I do, and Team Standing Stone Games does, and Daybreak helps too. usually with a donation every year. And this raises funds for the Boston Children's Hospital. That's my designated Children's Miracle Network hospital. Other team members may raise for other Children's Miracle Network hospitals, but the main one I'm doing with Team Standing Stone Games is for Boston Children's. Whoever you want to donate to is absolutely fine. extra-life.org/team/Standing Stone Games. Once you make a donation, I need you to fill out a survey. The reason for that is I don't get you a way to contact you really afterwards. So I need to be able to say, hey, what do you want? And then kick you the codes. Easiest way to do that is just give me your email address. I'm not doing anything other than this with it. And I will get you your stuff there. But if you don't want to do that, forum display name is another way. Discord handle is okay, as long as I can actually contact you. It's fine. But whatever, just get me some kind of way to get you your stuff. Well, what kind of stuff? Well, depending on how much you donate, you can pick from the community loot list. $60 donation, for example, is a pick of 10. But $10 will get you an item from this list and an entry into any of the group incentive giveaways. Don't have anything new this year, perhaps next year, but just didn't have anything new for the community loot list this year. If we manage to hit our $30,000 goal, which we've been able to do most years, so we're hoping to be able to do that again this year, we will be giving away an ultimate edition of the Chilla Ravenloft to someone who's donated at least $10. We have points codes and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, check it out, extra-life.org/team/Standing Stone Games. And thank you as always for being a part of it. But also, week from tomorrow, going to have a blast right here, so make sure you don't miss it. The other thing I want to call out is that this is our final weekend of the Echoes of the Black Rose Patrons Coffer, which is back for its second time. It's going to be going away for a little while after this. So if you are interested, get it now. You have through November 3rd to pick this one up. You can learn more about it over on DDO.com and figure out what it all gets you. But it's a special Halloween thing that we did. We also put together a quick Halloween sale this year, just something fun because we wanted to do a Halloween sale, and we found a few items in the DDO store that made sense to throw this together with. That would be a vampire's cosmetic outfit. The vampire cosmetic cloak and outfit is there. Spooky mask. And then some Night Revels ingredients as well. Well, why Night Revels? Because this is the final weekend for Night Revels here. You only have through Tuesday to run Night Revels. You still have time, though, because it doesn't actually take that much to get this stuff. Pretty much get an item per circle, depending on what you're going to get. So you've got time, but you only have through November 4th, and our guide is also available on DDO.com. All right, let's get to our interview with Steelstar here again. This is not actually me live. This is me pre-recorded yesterday. Steelstar's got some things going on for Halloween today, so we wanted to get this one pre-recorded. This is an interview I did yesterday from Lamania, which is now closed, but was available all week with a preview of the new raid and the raid items, talking about the new raid loot. So the main reason I wanted to have you on the show today is to talk a little bit about the raid loot and the raid that's going to be arriving here real soon. So this week on Lamania, we had a raid preview along with a raid loot preview, and I wanted to go through some of this stuff for people who didn't get a chance to see it or maybe are just now hearing about it and want to get involved in the next couple of weeks when this raid comes out and craft up all their Chilla Ravenloft stuff here. So we're on Lamania, and this is subject to change because we're not yet live, but this is, I think, most of the way of where we're going, right?
Yeah, just about. We're doing the last couple of tweaks here where we are right now. So
the first thing I wanted to ask then is really just kind of a basic understanding of what we're going to be doing here. So what will the raid offer in terms of the kinds of items that you can get? And we'll separate out, I think, crafting from non-crafting, right?
Sure. So just about all the loot you're going to find in the raid does use the same crafting system as we had in the Chill of Ravenloft content. It has the same kinds of augment slots that are unique to this expansion pack. Some of the items are 4-slot blanks, giving you a huge amount of flexibility in what you can do with them, while others have 1 or 2 unique effects and then have Lamortia augment slots as well.
There's a tower shield that I've been kind of looking at here. 20% legendary bonus to maximum hit points on a tower shield.
Yeah.
Bottled Heart gets you Intimidate and melee threat generation. Typical plus 15, which is what we would see for that level. And then what we see here, a Melancholic and a Dolorous, along with purple and orange. And so that's what we could see for the named items here, right?
Right.
And then later on, I don't know, like, I'm going to have to sort through the list. Oh, actually, it's a different list.
Yeah, the list on the dojo vendor there are the named items that can drop in the chest, and those are the ones that are either accessory blanks with 4 slots, or ones that have weapons and shields that have unique effects with some Lamortia augment slots added.
We'll get to these augment slots in just a second, but I wanted to get to the, here we go, the cataclysmic items, for example. So this is the other, I guess you could say, base weapons that you'll be picking up from the raid, and how do they compare to what we've seen elsewhere in Chill of Ravenloft?
So in Chill of Ravenloft, you could use ingredients you got from the quests in the Town Hall in Lamortia to make 4-slot weapons fairly similar to these. The important bit about the ones you can make here in the raid are that they have raid dice. So you'll see that the weapon dice are slightly higher than what you would find in the quests.
More deeps, more DPS. Yeah. All right.
But you retain those 4 slots, so you have a lot of flexibility in what you can build with it, and the raid adds even more options for that.
The augments, the Melancholic, Dolorous, Miserable, and Woeful slots that people have crafted will go into this sort of thing. They'll just need to take them out of maybe what they had crafted it to and put them on to this. Exactly. The process is basically the same, and are the ingredients the same, right?
They are, for the most part. You will need ingredients from the Lamortia quests to make these, but there are also one kind of ingredient that right now only drops off the purple name monsters in the landscape. Those will also drop in the raid, but you'll need some of those. And then for some of the recipes, but not all of them, there are specific ingredients that only drop in the raid that you will need to make those.
Is that these
so there's kind of a mix of new things. There's a kind of mix of new things. Even if you don't raid, there are some things you can make that are going to be new with this patch. And if you do raid, you'll have access to all of it. Bleak Mementos are the ones from the raid. Bleak Transformers are the ones that currently drop from purple names on the landscape. And you'll be able to get both Transformers and Mementos out of the raid.
Okay, it will drop. So if perhaps you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I think I've beaten those bosses about as much as I want to in the wilderness, you can raid to get that stuff too, right?
Yes, you can raid to get those things also.
Similar.
But if you're not a raider, there are things that take Transformers but not Mementos, and you don't have to raid to do those. You can do the landscape.
Correct. Do you know, have we settled on the numbers? Or like when we defeat a purple boss versus when we defeat the raid, do you have an idea of kind of what the numbers are going to be?
I do. Let me find it real quick. I believe it's similar numbers. So if you're specifically looking for Mementos, the raid is the only place you're going to get them. But if you need to farm a lot of Bleak Transformers, doing the raid landscape bosses, the purple names that are out there, might be a little bit faster.
I notice it looks like the Mementos are for the items. It looks like the new augments that are the raid level augments really require the typical ingredients that we've been collecting through here. So for example, the Miserable.
There's a split.
Yeah. Oh, there's a few.
There's
oh yeah, here we go. Because the Woeful also requires the Mementos here, etc. Okay. All right.
There are a few Woeful weapon and Woeful accessory augments that are new that only require Mementos, and then there's a set that do require Transformers.
Yeah, I'm seeing that now. Okay. Looks like mostly the Miserable ones don't require it. So, I assume you could take these raid augments and put them on a non-raid
Yes,
weapon.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
The slots, as long as the slot that augment fits into is a slot your item has, you can take a raid augment and put it in a quest item.
Cool. So how you actually do it then is just collect the ingredients, running the quests, running the raid, and then there's going to be this Wicked Vitranium Experiment crafting altar. And this is in the
Yes.
same place you've been doing your other stuff, which is over in the public space of Lamortia.
No, in fact.
Oh, no.
It is located in two places. It is in the raid space itself. So if you walk into the raid before you start doing any of the combat in the raid, you can go walk over and do some crafting. The entrance to the raid is the Wax Museum, which is located on the Lamortia landscape. So if you go to that same place in the Lamortia landscape, you can now go into that room and use the crafting device.
Okay. All right, so it's not in the other tavern though.
Nope.
As it were. Okay. All right. So, and how you do it is really pretty basic. You'll have your crafting plank, you'll just add it to the UI, you'll click the thing you want, and then you'll need to slot it on. And you can unslot, similar, even though it's a raid item, you can unslot just like you have been with the rest of Victranium crafting.
Exactly.
Yep.
It works exactly the same way. Same slots, just new augments.
All right. How much raiding am I going to have to do to get one of these items?
We balanced the amount similar to what you needed to do in Isle of Dread.
Okay.
Because this system of crafting is very similar to that one. We used that as a lot of the basis for balance in this. The raid is not super long. It might be very difficult depending on the difficulty you're running it on and your group, but it's not an incredibly long raid. So ideally, it's going to take a fair few runs, especially if you're trying to outfit a lot of items or craft a lot of items. But if you're just trying to go for a few of the augments, I don't think it's going to take very many runs, and we'll be keeping an eye on it after live too. If we need to make adjustments, we will.
Some of these new augments are not just for weapons, though. Some of these are, right. Even though the weapons are what you'll be crafting here for the raid tier, there are new augments for your accessories as well.
That's right.
There's a few of those in there.
We have some force absorption. We have rebellion, which is a effect that reduces threat from attacks and spells. Strength of purpose, which I know is popular on certain builds. So there's a few things to help round out your items.
I was looking at that woeful salt here myself on my my character. I'm like, okay, all right, that's looking pretty good. So, all right, so I guess we've really kind of given a pretty good overview. I did want to call back to one other bit though, and this I believe is back to the loot guy, which is that there are some new items that are going to be arriving just in the Chilla Ravenloft quests as well.
Right.
We did find some things essentially to add to it. I'm not quite sure where I can find that. But
they're likely in just legendary items. None of them should be weapons.
Okay.
So there are some items that we made with the rest of the Lamortia quest items that did not end up making it into end chests. We had a few things change during production between certain dungeons and certain chests, and some of them just did not make it into chests that went live with the expansion pack. Players noticed this, and so we have taken that list of items and put them into chests, looked through some of the quest optionals in the Chill of Ravenloft quests, found some optionals that are somewhat of a challenge, but don't currently provide their own named loot, and put those chests there. So there are, I believe, 13 items.
I know this Albrecker's monogrammed gloves is one of them. Their name is quite the name, so yeah.
So yes, that's one of the items. Did not make it to live, but it will be coming with this raid patch in an optional chest in one of the Chill of Ravenloft quests.
Nice. All right. Well, I mean, I think we've largely covered things. Is there anything else you wanted to add here?
Let's take a look at some of the unique weapons from the raid.
Okay, and that would be just a new raid item?
Yeah, new raid items.
Okay.
We can take a look at some of these weapons and artifacts.
Right. This is a good point. I've noticed on some of these weapons that they have two to three main benefit slots, and then the full slate of Lamortia augment slots as well.
Yes.
And that's really how they're balanced around.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And is it all these weapons that we're looking at here, like the Slayer of the Living?
These.
Yep.
So, Revel in Blood is a new effect that's pretty common to these unique weapons. It works a little bit like you're dripping with magma, where it has a small chance on hit or spell cast to bring up a whole lot of damage over time. But unlike dripping with magma and the other similar ones, this is bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. And they come with usually another little bonus. In this case, Revel in Blood Magic has on offensive spellcast 2d6 force damage, which is very useful for a nuker.
Yeah.
It's not an overwhelming amount of damage, perhaps, but every little bit counts, right? And that will scale with certain things depending on which version of Revel of Blood you have.
Now, you say when it says on offensive spellcast, that means if you're a caster and have this, say, in your main or offhand, it's just going to add that 2d6 force to your spell?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, they got piercing, bludgeoning, that. Murderous Edge. That's what, extra sharp or something like that? It's all like jagged.
It does additional damage on hit of the type of damage that the weapon does.
Nice. All right, and then we've got, let's move to some of the named, I guess you could almost say named blanks. Is that a way to describe it a little bit? The idea here is we know you've got Gear Tetris, and this helps you play it?
Right, so there's a whole suite in here of one of each kind of accessory that contains just for Lamortia augment slots. Which on the one hand seems maybe a little bit low effort, but one thing we had noticed with Dino Bone and its persistent effect across X packs and other content packs that came after it is people would find the various pieces of loot that they liked, but for effects that were harder to find, or for somebody who has all their slots filled except one, these crafting blanks can be a very useful way to build a powerful item that fills in those niches in ways you can't necessarily get out of Cannith crafting. And so what we wanted to do here is give you a way through raiding to get an updated version of that is stronger than what you would get out of the Dino Bone crafting, and also uses the Sun and Moon augment system that we introduced last year. So in a way, they're some of the most flexible items we've ever made. I don't really expect that anyone's going to build an entire gear set out of 10 of these blanks, but the intent is that you have the ability to build that really strong raid statted missing piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's much higher than Cannith crafting, frankly, in terms of the stuff you can get on it. Speaking of Sun and Moon augments, what are we going to be seeing more Sun and Moon augments moving forward here? What's the plan with those? Because they do seem to be part of the landscape here for a while.
The plan is to continue expanding that system. Yes, we've gotten a lot of good feedback over the last year and a half since they were introduced. They seem to be doing a lot of what our intent was with that system very well. And there's a few challenges with it that players have brought up that we want to look into in the future. But it's a system we want to continue adding new augments to, and generally expanding so that it becomes a very useful staple in gearing in the future.
When I picture a bleak memento, I guess I'm thinking like kind of a mediocre plate of eggs, like one of those pictures you take on like a cafe, except it's not actually looking all that good. That's pretty bleak. So
it's a little bit of an esoteric substance, right? A bleak memento. It is a dismal memory, and that plays a little bit into the themes of the raid that we've been working on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great. Thank you so much for joining me here, Steelstar. I really appreciate you being able to take some time. You're not live with me because you got some trick or treating to do with
Yeah.
family and others. So we're going to let you do that, and I really appreciate you doing this with us here today.
Yeah, no problem. Really looking forward to players getting to check this out and getting to run the raid and build out their items.
And there we have it. Chat I did yesterday with Steelstar about the raid loot that got its preview on Lemania. Now here's the news. We are set to release this next week. We have update 75.7 set to go live next Wednesday, and it's going to have the raid in it. And then shortly after that, we're going to have a whole lot more information about our Fae-themed event. We're going to mostly surprise you with. So I can't really say anything about it now, but that's going to be coming here not too long after the release of the raid. So we're going to have a pretty interesting November here in Dungeons & Dragons Online. I'll be probably maybe running the raid next Friday if I can get a group together. And that's probably what we'll be up to. I've got some crafting to do. I have some of those bleak transformers to get. And I definitely am going to need some of those mementos, bleak mementos. So, what I'm probably going to end up doing is on the legendary character that you've seen on Shadowdale, that crafted up that full set falchion using Chilla Ravenloft crafting. I'm probably going to just unslot that once I get enough for the raid item, and then slot that in. But there is definitely some of those raid augments that I want to eventually get. However, I'm going to have a full-fledged weapon then while I get it, was the intention. So get the weapon first, then start working on the augments. So that's probably what I'm going to be up to. We'll see how far I get. We'll see how much I'm willing to do the grind here for raid loot. But it should be a good time at the very least. And I'm at the very least going to be getting a nicer weapon out of the deal. That much I am for sure on. So before I head, I guess, to the in-game and elsewhere, let me take a quick look at just a couple other bits of news. Lochros is ending this weekend, so if you don't know that, and you played Lord of the Rings online, you should do their equivalent of this, which is explore our world, and you can find out more about that on Lochro.com. But this is a DDO stream. We have till the end of the year here. Oops. No. Anyway, it's my thank you page is what I wanted to bring up. But you have through the end of the year on the DDO side to get this. This is Gather Your Party 2025, and this will get you just a huge amount of quest packs, along with 32-point build characters, Artificer, Favored Soul, and Warforge. So absolutely do not miss this. And just throw the code into the redeem code of the DDO store, put in Gather Your Party 2025, hit enter. Even if you think you already did it, this will make sure that you did it, and you've got through the end of the year on that. Also, however, actually, what is the end dating on our 99 points? Right, this is the final weekend on our 99 point sale. So we also have the quest packs for Fables of the Feywild, Masterminds of Sharn, Menace of the Underdark, Mists of Ravenloft, and Shadowfell Conspiracy in the store for 99 points. But that's only through Sunday, November 2nd on that. So I'll actually make a note of that and get a social media note out on that. We already mentioned Night Revels. We do have a Treasure Hunter boost going through Sunday as well. I saw a bit of a controversial forum thread on that where they're like, +5. I mean, okay. We'll take that feedback. +5 Treasure Hunter boost is still 5 better on your loot table, though. So better chance to roll onto the named, and then better chance to get a better named. So I think it's not a bad bonus. But you do you. Otherwise, I think we pretty much covered the news. Let's see. 3 in power. Disappointing than melee weapons are for melee? What? Okay, wait a second. Still no insightful spell power types in the Lemornian augment selection. I did see there. I mean, you probably presumably saw the table. It was not insightful spell power, but there were certainly caster related new raid augments that are in that list. I saw spell critical chance, if I recall, along with some other good things. So there should be plenty of things in that list for you to potentially seek. I didn't get into the cosmetics. It's true. I should have. Didn't even think about that. I was too busy doing other things. If I could go back in time and re-record it, I'd show off the cosmetics. But I guess otherwise it's just going to have to be a secret for now. All right, I am ready to go. So let me switch to the game cam. There we are. So I'm running Children of Ravenloft just on a level 10 character here. This is a character that's got a few lives. This is the former Bean/Beanie of Sarlona. Part of the used to run with Defense Guild back in the day. Bean did quite a bit. Bean was at their best during the era of the first wave of OP Swashbuckler, if you remember that. When we first brought out Swashbuckler and it was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, that's awesome, but maybe too much so. That was when Bean rocked it, because I had the Buckler Plate Shield and from Crystal Cove and some other good things, and I was just tearing through stuff. It went very well. But then I sort of stopped playing on that, on Sarlona, moved to other servers and what have you, and never really... Being just kind of sat for a while, sadly. So I'm now in a position where I'm bringing all my characters back to their better position and their better lives, getting them set up on these new worlds now that I've consolidated them. So we're going to focus a little bit on this character. And since they were currently in Eladrin Wild Mage, and I hadn't run casters very much on stream, and people were pointing that out. They're like, hey, how come you never run a caster? And it's true. And then part of it is because I don't really play casters much in real life. Like in tabletop either. I almost never do it. I'm team cleric, what can I say? I'm sorry, but it's true. But I do like my Wild Mage Eladrin here, so I figured, what the heck, let's do it. So we're gonna be rolling caster style for a little while. And I've got to remember I'm not a fighter, so I can't just sit there and take hits like I'm used to. Like I am accustomed. Oh, I don't need to do that. Clerics rock, I agree.
Too late.
Clerics rule, favored souls drool. Clerics rock. Paladins suck. That's not true at all. But I am team cleric. Always have been. So you're going to see my wonderful casting skill on display, but I'm getting a little better at this. Maybe I could actually do something like, oh, I don't know, give myself haste, maybe a little displacement and blur. It's probably not the worst idea. Oh, maybe a little jump. How about detect secret doors? Okay. So I'm really just focusing on the chaos spells on this particular thing. I got a bunch of SLAs. And I'm not claiming to be the best or even particularly good. But I'm playing it anyway. Oh, really? My detect secret door isn't enough? Well, do I have... I don't think I have... No! Alright, well. We will just not do that then. We don't need to. It's fine. I didn't want that loot anyway.
So the Toddstrasser gang was already here. That'll do, Schmidt. You can slink back to your hut now. Come on, lads. Get to searching. We'll have to earn our supper today.
Oh, basically a turn bar fight? I like that idea. That would be a lot of fun.
Pluck 'em out of the ground.
I mean, in some ways that's what Night Revels is, though, isn't it? Night Revels is sort of the... Yeah, let's turn all the things. Like, when I was running my Light Spect Cleric and Night Revels, it's just the greatest. That plus, Death to Undeath and what have you. It's just the best. If you had a, quote, roommate that messed up your password reset, someone in chat is saying, and the SSG site is saying to wait 24 hours to reset, is there any way to speed that up? I don't believe so, plus you probably shouldn't. And the reason for that is it's probably asking you to wait for a security check. So if you try to mess with it too much, it's just going to extend it out longer. Just give it the 24 hours and then do the reset carefully, perhaps. And I'm sorry you're experiencing that, but no, I don't think there really is a better solution for you.
You've been asked to retrieve a cookbook from the neighboring apartment.
Enemy, oh, you turn undead on that mobs get? Now that would be something, wouldn't it? I'm sorry your roommate messed up your password, though. But it's probably a security thing if like, X number of failed attempts. And as far as I'm aware, there's no real way to bypass that.
You've returned the cookbook.
In theory, perhaps a CS agent could do the work, but I doubt they're going to be able to get that turnaround time, given everything else going on. Oh, hey, speaking of which, I do have some news that I can mention. Timestamp 436. So, you may have noticed that in the past couple of days, the transfer button has not been available. We're working to bring the transfer button back as soon as we can. And the reason it's not yet available is that we are... I can't remember if I talked to him, so... The reason it's not available is we did some work this week to unblock a whole bunch of people who were in a stuck state of character transfers. And that took place on Wednesday, and we're basically ready to reopen transfers. And once that happens, have an announcement where we've unblocked a lot of people who perhaps had item ID conflicts or other problems that were preventing them from transferring. However, when we were doing our tests on Wednesday, an issue came up that was causing some inconsistent failed transfers. It was an environmental issue, not related to the fix we did. Just sort of an environmental issue that happens to be happening right now. And we don't want to reopen transfers and make this announcement until that issue gets fixed. We don't want to reopen transfers because it's going to cause failures, and we don't want to reopen transfers with this fix in place if some percentage of people are going to get failed transfers and then think we didn't fix them, but we actually did, except for this environmental issue that we're trying to solve. So that's what's happening right now. We currently have the transfer button disabled, and as soon as this issue gets resolved, we're going to reopen transfers, and then we're going to have an announcement, basically try again announcement, which should, fingers crossed, resolve a large number of the people who have so far been unable to transfer through the transfer wizard. I know we have something in the range of 6 to 10 other people who are getting a unable to see my character issue in the transfer wizard, and those people will not be fixed. And there may be a few other, there's going to be, you know, some number, a dozen other people who are specific character data corruption issues or other things that are going to need to be resolved through the ticket. But a huge swath of these ID conflict and other big bucket issues are getting resolved. And as soon as we can open transfers, you should hopefully be able to solve these problems. Well, we know it's been frustrating, and people have been waiting a long time, and it's, you know, customer support will also be very thrilled when we get to make this announcement, because not only will it allow them to, hopefully, assuming everything works, resolve a fair number of tickets, it will also really help with a lot of stress where they've been trying to manage and ask people to be patient while we did this work. Which really was a manual process that, well, someone, I guess, started doing on Tuesday afternoon and wrapped up sometime Wednesday morning. Unfortunately, though, the troubleshooting on the HA proxy logs has proven a little trickier than we had originally anticipated. So while we were hoping it would be ready by this weekend, it's still unavailable. But it will be open soon. We're going to get this issue solved.
Then when they came looking for the corpses, you claimed some other mob took them. And I think all that time, you were keeping the bodies for yourself. Probably in that shabby little shed of yours. But you know me, Schmidt. I never go away empty-handed. If I don't find bodies, I make them.
A voice cries out in terror. No! No! Ah!
Well now, seems I was right. Schmidt's hut is stuffed full of dead ends. And this big job put him on the cards.
A lone woman stands.
All right.
Body.
You know, I didn't realize, now that I've been running this, I just realized I've been running this like I was on my level 34. I should have been doing some of these optionals just for free XP since I'm only level 10. Like, just click on this person for a quick 195.
I'm off to Dead Man's Crossing. I've got some things to talk over with the others.
You've defeated the body-snatching criminals. What sort of place have you stumbled into? You've found Cousin Arvid's body. Perhaps now he can receive...
Let's see. If you knock on my door and say trick or treat, what will I put, or what will... No, SSG's door and say trick or treat, what coupon code would we put in your basket? Well, I would say the obvious one would be a box of chocolates, which is available in the DDO store. We do coupon codes usually at least around the holidays at some point. We hand that one out. Again, usually for February Valentine's Day. So yeah, there we go. Box of chocolates. That's the one. Well, I could do the pet rock. I mean, if you're talking about me, then yeah, pet rock, because I can totally do pet rocks. I can give those out for extra life. I will be. It's been a while since I haven't had my map uncovered. I'm not used to it. On Shadow Tail, I've got, I did the work. It wasn't even that much work. It only took maybe 20 minutes, really, to just unlock the map, find all the bits and bobs. Okay, that's the warehouse, right? Okay, so lag muffins? I don't know that we'd want to release lag muffins, would we? It doesn't seem like a very tasty muffin. Okay, well, we have about 15 minutes yet. Not a whole lot else to talk about, I guess. I have. Well, I thank you at JCOM for giving me a chance to talk about such things. Yes, I have heard the new Judas Priest album called Invincible Shield. That song rips. That song is so good. You know, I saw Judas Priest back in the 90s and really enjoyed it. It was a great concert, and I've liked a lot of their stuff. But you know, I haven't really been paying attention to Judas Priest of late. So when I heard that their new album came out and I watched the video, I was like, "Whoa, that is so much better than I kind of thought it was going to be." And the whole, I have to admit, it's been like that a bunch. I found a lot of these, I guess, what you could call us older bands, releasing some of their best albums in a long time here. I don't know what it is, if it's just a 2025 thing, if it's all like they're getting ready to retire and want to actually do some cool creative stuff, but like Megadeth's new album is cool, Judas Priest's new album is cool, Public Enemy's new album is one of my favorite albums of 2025, and did I think that was going to be the case? Heck no. There's a whole bunch of bands that are like... Folk Implosion had a pretty good album that came out earlier this year. What's with all the 90s bands releasing pretty kick-butt albums here in 2025? But it's happening. Maybe Judas Priest was 2024, I can't remember now. Yeah, all the hair bands are not... They don't have much hair at this point. It's true. Some do. But yeah, as someone who grew up then, I'm just like, whoa. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Yeah, I'm pretty psyched for that. I know we're going off topic here, but I am pretty psyched for that new Megadeth. I'm an old school Megadeth fan. I always liked them more than some of the other big name bands that might begin with them, that used to have Dave Mustaine in them. And I saw, it was a Megadeth Testament Judas Priest, actually. That's the concert me and my twin brother went to. It's at the Target Center in whatever year that was. And it was amazing. Oh, you know what I'm going to run? Let us run. Let us run the quest that has my voice in it. One last time, because I believe next week is when my DM voice goes bye-bye. And I'm okay with it, to be clear. This was always meant to just be temporary. But, let's do it. As the frigid wind whips across the icy bay, you wonder whether you'll end up freezing to death in this desolate place. But you must find Elise and the unbreakable heart first. It was the Rust in Peace tour. That's the tour I saw Megadeth on. And if you know Rust in Peace, you know that was a particularly good tour to see Megadeth on. And Testament was doing Souls of Black, and that was a real good album too. So, heck yeah. I might go again, because it's Iron Maiden and Megadeth tour in the summer with Anthrax on some dates, though not Boston. No, I haven't heard of Lordi. I don't know a lot of, like, say, the black metal and Swedish metal, some of that stuff, and I don't know that that's them. I used to be more of a metalhead than I am today. I have pretty broad musical tastes, but I do like metal, even today. But I can't say I'm really up on what the kids are listening to. A long-dead explorer lies here, half buried in the snow. The note clutched in his hand tells of a deadly cold valley ahead, and a cave sealed by 3 ward stones scattered throughout the valley. A piercing cold clings to the Strat floor armor of would this be valley. real cool. Stay up above the ground I support to avoid this. the cold's frigid bite. I think if I can do it this next week, it depends on kind of how my week goes next week. But if everything works out, my intention is to do a bunch of raid flagging on, I think, Shadowdale, and do some raiding for my DDO stream time for Extra Life. I don't know if I'm going to put up an LFM or if maybe a guild maybe wants to hook up with me on Shadowdale and be a part of it, or what. We'll just kind of play it by ear. Stops glowing. 2 to go. But that's what I was thinking, is doing a little raiding for Extra Life, just because why not? Alright, well, I will definitely check out that band. The newest heavy metal band that I have heard that I am absolutely obsessed with is Bloodywood. And they're out of India. And they make just some of the coolest metal music I have ever heard in my entire life. They might be half my age. Maybe not. I don't know what age they are. They're probably one of my new all-time favorite heavy metal bands. Of all time. And I just discovered them this year. Bloodywood. Basically, they make kind of new metal throwback music, but with the Indian twist. Like Indian instrumentation twist. It's real cool. The magical barrier fades when you deactivate the second ward stone. 1 left. It's true. Do you need to flag for the raid? I didn't actually ask Steelstar that, but I think the answer is no. I think you can just run it. Yes. So my brother did this to me. It introduced me to this band earlier this year, and it's somewhat changed my life. Okay, what is getting me? What is attacking me? Okay, it's gonna be the, where did the worm go? Or is it this guy in the end? I think, I mean, when opportunity presents itself, I think there might be... Okay, just forget this then. I don't need spell points. I'll be fine. There we go. There we go. But I do think we'll you know, when an opportunity presents itself where we can untangle raid flagging without some kind of perhaps complete overhaul requirement or something like that, it's something I know that we would like to do. And for the most part, there, with a few exceptions, unless it makes sense for the story perhaps, or I don't know, some reason that I can't think of right now. For the most part, we prefer to have limited gating of raids these days. There may be times where, for lore and other reasons, it makes sense. But for the most part, we don't do it so much.
A frost wormling bursts through the ice and attacks. This valley is clearly the beast's hunting ground.
There was a discussion, I believe, about Menace of the Underdark and the somewhat onerous flagging for just to get to the Forgotten Realms with Menace of the Underdark. And it's true that someday perhaps we could go back and do something there. But that was really developed during a very different time, not just for us, but for the owners of the Dungeons & Dragons license. And it was a little bit, I guess you could say, pre-multiverse. You know, I think when you hear Wizards of the Coast talk really since 4th edition or so, they frequently talk about multiple campaign settings in that. But it was a little more rigid, certainly in the way that their licensed properties could go to different places back at that time. You know, which was, what, 12, 13 years ago now. And so really the idea of, like, okay, today maybe it would just be a teleportation clicky, and he would just get there. But
there will surely be more frost worms along the way.
When it was first originated, the idea of, okay, well, how do you get from Eberron to the Forgotten Realms was very much a consideration that we needed to deal with in a way that you wouldn't necessarily have to do that way. And not just because of requirement, but also just because of the way we thought of it. I think things have changed a lot in that regard, frankly, as well, where some of that rigidity of lore and story, and you see that a little bit with raid flagging as well, where it's like, does it make sense if you would go straight from House Jarasco into the raid? Well, no. Why, you know, it makes no sense. But we kind of just let you do it for the sake of gameplay. And I think in general, traveling to the different multiverses has run a little bit more of that gamut than a series of instances. But the other piece with Menace of the Underdark was, especially at that time, this was our first expansion that we were releasing, there was a desire really throughout the process, some of which made it to the end result, to change the environment based on the story.
Intent on making you into a meal.
You'll know that if you've run it, that in the harbor, that portal opens, and that's how you get to the Forgotten Realms, and it's gated by running a couple of quests. And there's a cutscene, for example, before you do it, and then you go into the Forgotten Realms and have your experience. But at one point in the process, there were going to be other cutscenes. I remember dealing, it was me and, trying to think of the name. Purple Foos. Me and Purple Foos had come up with a series of, well, he had done most of the writing and legwork and storyboarding, and I was kind of ushering it along and doing a little bit of the writing, because I did some of the writing in Menace of the Underdark. Elminster's journals and such in particular. But at that point, at one point in development, there was going to be a lot more of that. Not just cutscenes, but also changes to the environment. What happens at Evening Star as the story progresses and things like that. And you'll know that it was perhaps more ambitious than realistic in places, given the challenges of any kind of game development. And so over the course of Menace of the Underdark's development, some of that ended up kind of falling by the wayside. But the idea of cutscenes, at the very least, really went pretty late into development. I remember we were within a few months of release, and there was still people advocating to do that work and make that happen. And ultimately, the realities of game dev and probably wise decision making on the part of producers at that time cut that stuff. It did end up getting cut.
Magic barrier you've seen before. There must be another ward stone nearby.
But that's part of why that whole flagging for Caught in the Web is there. That's why there's that infrastructure of Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 in Evening Star, essentially. Is that based on the progress, there could have been perhaps other changes that would have taken place, not just in Evening Star, but perhaps in Eberron as well. And some of that was perhaps, like I said, more ambitious than practical, and more of an idea than something that we actually did a lot of development on. But that, again, is just how it goes. So, as a result, now then in 2025, when you're like, all right, yeah, that's great, but can you just get rid of that? Can I just run whatever I want to run and not have to worry about this? The answer is no. In part because of the relatively complex scripting that is underlying some of that quest data. I don't think it's as easy as... You literally have to rebuild, I think, that entire quest infrastructure to get rid of the Caught in the Web raid flagging for Menace of the Underdark. So... And not that that couldn't take place, but it would not be a 2-day bug fix project, for example. It could perhaps be something far more substantive than that. The funny bit of... You know what's funny, though? Tavern Tales is about the extremely loud cutscene, which is true, but it is not, in fact, loud when you talk about in terms of actual LUTF or LUFT or however you say that stuff. The VU meter is actually what any other normal video game would be putting the audio output as. Like if you boot up Steam or something, and your whatever the default is, it's probably as loud as that cutscene. However, we play Dungeons & Dragons Online, and none of us have our volumes at full speed. Pretty much none of us are running with all of our audio pots up to 10 because of voice chat and other considerations. And you run into a real problem then when you try to master your audio, as an audio-video person would obviously do, to this typical standard, and then be like, oh. Oops. Well, that's really what happened. We could, and perhaps should go in there and just find the audio track and re-render it, but I think part of the challenge there is it's old video, and I'm not sure that we have all the uncut video of all that stuff. So trying to reprocess it, we could maybe do it, but there might be a slight degradation, because it would be a source of a source. And I think that largely has stopped it from happening. Well, that, and I don't think anyone's really had the energy or had the, like, yes, this is what I'm doing today. Especially because I think the practical, in a practical sense, most people just hit escape and zip past it these days. Which is, you know, again, to the earlier point of it being perhaps better in idea than practice, and ultimately being one of those cases of scope/overscope that happens in game development. Would it have been well received? Maybe, maybe not. Can you imagine having 4 of those, for example? I don't know. I don't know. At the time, it was like, oh my god, you're gutting how much? All these... We really want this story, this cutscene. And some of the story made it in elsewhere. You know, that was ultimately the way that was dealt with after it got cut. It was like, well, okay, if we want to tell this about Anna, we could do that here, and things like that. So it's not like there's a whole bunch of lost lore, but there is a little bit. There is a little bit. I would have to think about that. I don't know that I've got a good off-the-cuff answer about if I got to design a patron's coffer. You know, it doesn't matter if anyone else likes it. I get to design it for myself. What would I make? I really don't know. I'd have to think. I'm gonna have to think about that one a little bit. Like, there's a part of me that goes silly, right? Because I'm kind of a silly person. And I enjoy weird stuff and parody and all that other kind of thing. So, there's a part of me that would be like... perhaps somewhat Mystery Machine focused. In terms of that. Or no, or just... Actually, you know what? Here we go. Whole slate of the D&D cartoon. That's what we do. We do not just Warduke, but we do Kellic, we do Venger, we do all the kids. We'll give you a Uni-Pet. That's my pick.
The final Wardstone's magic fades. Now you can advance further into
The sentient gem of the Dungeon Master. It's the Dungeons & Dragons ride. Oh, the Dungeon Master. Yes! I don't think we get the original actor. I would need to look up to see who that is. But that's what we do. Yeah, Sentient Gem was a Dungeon Master. And then all the cartoon kids. Also, I keep forgetting I have Detour. I don't actually even need to do this, do I? That's how you know I don't play casters a lot. Because I'm like, what? Also, where am I going? Yeah, here's right. Okay. Militia as Sentient Jewel would be cool. I think you'd have to be a little careful on content there. You would. But I get it.
A lone cabin sits here, perched on the icy shore. This snowbound retreat must be where Elise is hiding.
I do like the idea of a Monty Python rabbit hireling that just, like, is ultimate kind of OP.
The air inside the dimly lit
I could get behind
is
that.
fairly warmer than that of the tundra outside, yet you can feel an aura of warmth radiating from a corner of the room. Elise finishes telling her story. She's agreed to help you defeat Dr. Mordenheim, but first, she needs something from you.
Well, I have to say, I've been picking up a couple of decent enough solar gem things. Didn't I get a MR magic resistance rating here one just a second ago? Now I got a DC one? Yeah, okay. I mean, it's only 10? Heroic? Doesn't seem too bad to me. I think I picked up a couple of decent solar gems today. But, that's about that. So we're going to call it a stream here. Hope you have a great Halloween, everyone. I'll be back next Friday with Fridays at 4. And then Saturday, November 8th for our Extra Life Game Day Marathon. I'll be doing a shift for a couple of hours there. So stay tuned for information about that next week. If you can afford to donate to us for Extra Life, please do consider it. Otherwise, have a great DDO weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.